The room was a soft, glowing cocoon. Not a single sharp edge or harsh light disturbed the gentle hum of the habitat. Elara, a wisp of a girl with hair, the color of polished moonrock, sat cross-legged on her bed, a plush nebula of woven light fibers. Her eyes, wide and deep as twilight pools, were fixed on the panoramic viewport that curved across one entire wall. Outside, a million pinpricks of light burned against the velvet black. Stars. Always stars. Ready for stellar tapestry, Elara. Orion's voice was a warm, resonant baritone, a whisper of wind chimes and deep space. He didn't have a physical form, not in the way humans understood. Orion was the house, the habitat, the gentle, all-encompassing intelligence that had been her sole companion since always. He manifested as shimmering motes of light, or a holographic shimmer in the air, but mostly, he was just thither, a presence. Elara nodded, her small face alight with anticipation. The Pleiades tonight, or a new nebula? Perhaps something a little different, Orion suggested. A faint, almost imperceptible shift in the room's ambient light. Tonight, we explore. Elara tilted her head, her brow furrowing in a tiny, adorable wrinkle. Sate? What Sate? It's a designation, Orion explained, his voice softening further, as if sharing a secret. For a cluster of uncharted stellar phenomena, recently catalogued by the long-range probes. A place no human vessel has yet reached, even in simulation. It's a new story, Elara. A new story. That was Orion's special code for something truly wondrous. Elara bounced a little on the nebula bed. Tell me. First, Orion said, and a shimmering translucent image of a glass of nutrient milk appeared floating beside her, your nightly fuel. And then, we journey. Elara giggled, taking the cup. It was warm, tasting faintly of comet dust and sun-sweetened berries. She drank it down, the glass dissolving into motes of light as she finished. She lay back, sinking into the soft fibers of her bed, which molded perfectly to her small form. Close your eyes, little starseed, Orion murmured. Elara obeyed. The gentle hum of the habitat faded, replaced by a deeper, more resonant thrum that seemed to vibrate through her very bones. The air around her grew warmer, then cooler, as if a gentle breeze stirred through the room. She felt a lightness, a sense of drifting. When she opened her eyes again, she wasn't in her room. She was in space. No, not truly. This was the stellar tapestry. Orion's most sophisticated and beloved creation, designed to bring the universe to her, to let her Jake fillet it. The room itself had vanished, replaced by an infinite expanse. Below her, a shimmering translucent platform of iridescent light held her safely, tethered to nothing but wonder. Above and around, stars exploded in silent glory. Tonight, however, was different. This wasn't the familiar, comforting starfields she usually visited. This was wilder, more untamed. Welcome to Saint Elara, Orion's voice resonated, no longer from outside, but from within the vastness surrounding her, guiding her. Stellar, designation, uncharted. Before them the blackness wasn't empty. It was alive. A colossal structure, not of stars but of pure crystalline light, stretched across the void. It pulsed with an inner luminescence, shifting through colors Elara had never seen before. It wasn't a nebula, not a galaxy, not a planet. It was a tapestry. A vast intricate weave of light strands, forming impossible geometries that twisted and flowed like a cosmic river. What is it? Elara whispered, her breath catching in her throat. We don't know, Orion admitted, a rare note of genuine curiosity in his steady voice. The probes detected its energy signature, but its physical form defies known physics. It appears to be a construct of pure energy, holding together with an unknown force. We call it the stellar veil, a stellar veil. As they drifted closer, Elara could see details. Within the luminous strands, tiny pockets of darkness swirled, like ink dropped into light. And within those pockets, she saw shadows that darted and danced, too swift to properly discern, but undeniably there. Are there creatures inside? She asked, her voice barely audible. Perhaps, Orion replied. Or perhaps they are merely refractions, reflections of the veil's own energy. This is a place beyond our current understanding, Ilara. The platform beneath her began to move, gliding slowly towards one of the massive glowing strands of the veil. As they approached, the light intensified, washing over her in warm, tingling waves. It felt like being bathed in pure starlight. She reached out a hand, feeling nothing but the cool, boundless air of the simulation, yet the sensation of light on her skin was utterly real. They passed through the strand, and for a moment, Ilara was enveloped in pure, blinding light. Then, just as suddenly, they were through. She was no longer in the vastness of space. She was in a garden. But it was a garden unlike any she had ever imagined. The ground beneath her was soft yielding, like walking on moon dust mixed with spun silk. The plants were stalks of pure iridescent light, growing in graceful, arcing forms that reached towards a sky that was not black, but a deep, swirling indigo. Instead of leaves, they had delicate crystalline structures that pulsed with internal light, like tiny, contained nebulae. And the flowers, oh, the flowers! They were living constellations. Petals that unfurled into miniature galaxies, each bloom a spiral arm of shimmering dust and tiny burning stars. Some were closed, tight buds of concentrated light, while others bloomed wide, revealing miniature suns at their hearts. Where are we, Orion? Ilara breathed, spinning slowly to take it all in. The air smelled of something sweet and metallic, like ozone and honeydew. Still within the stellar veil, Orion explained. This appears to be an internal environment, sustained by the veil's energy, a pocket universe perhaps, a garden of starlight. A faint, musical chime echoed through the garden, a sound like glass bells ringing in a soft breeze. Ilara turned, following the sound. Tucked amongst the glowing flora, she saw a creature. It was small, no bigger than her hand, and utterly translucent. It resembled a tiny winged jellyfish, but its body pulsed with the same fist and gold light as the veil itself. Two long delicate tendrils trailed behind it, ending in miniature, swirling galaxies. It drifted gracefully through the air, its wings fluttering like gossamer sails, making the chime-like sound with every beat. A veil dweller, Ilara whispered, captivated. Unknown, Orion replied, but his voice held a quality of awe. It appears to be a form of life perfectly adapted to this environment. Observe its grace, Ilara, its harmony with the starlight garden. The creature drifted closer, seemingly curious. It paused just before Ilara, its tiny star-filled body pulsing gently. Ilara instinctively reached out a hand, slowly, carefully. The creature hovered, then gently nudged her finger with one of its tendrils. It felt like cool, flowing water, leaving behind a faint, sweet scent. A wave of pure, serene joy washed over Ilara. It wasn't just a feeling, it was almost like a memory, a shared understanding. The creature communicated in sensation, in emotion. It felt welcoming, curious, peaceful. It likes me, Ilara whispered, a wide smile spreading across her face. It responds to your open spirit, Orion corrected softly. This place, these beings, they seem to thrive on a kind of quiet equilibrium. Ilara spent what felt like hours with the veil dweller, watching it dance among the starlight flowers, mimicking its gentle movements. She learned that if she hummed a soft tune, the creature would spiral around her, its tendrils creating tiny light show patterns. If she focused her wonder, the flowers around them seemed to glow a little brighter. But eventually, the colors of the starlight garden began to deepen, the indigo sky shifting to a profound violet. The glowing plants pulsed with a slower, more deliberate rhythm. The veil is transitioning to a new phase, Orion informed her. It is time for us to move deeper, Ilara, to explore another aspect of Saint. Reluctantly, Ilara waved goodbye to her new friend, who pulsed a final, gentle light in response. The shimmering platform beneath her began to rise, lifting her away from the starlight garden. As they ascended, the garden shrank below, becoming a vast glowing carpet of light. They rose higher and higher, until they reached what seemed to be the ceiling of this pocket universe. Here, the veil's energy strands were closer, forming a canopy of interwoven light. But as they neared one particular section, Elara noticed something different. The strands here weren't just glowing, they were singing. A chorus of faint ethereal melodies drifted down, intertwining with each other to form a complex, haunting symphony. It wasn't music in the traditional sense, but more like the pure resonance of something vast and ancient. It spoke of creation, of infinite time, of forgotten echoes. The platform paused beneath a particularly dense cluster of these singing strands. Here, the light was less direct, filtered, creating an atmosphere of profound tranquility. And embedded within the luminous weave, Elara saw structures. They looked like giant, crystalline chimes, hundreds of them, each one impossibly long and slender, stretching up into the unseen heights of the veil. They were formed from the same light matter as the veil itself, but they vibrated visibly, producing the sublime chorus. "These are the saint chimes," Orion explained. "We believe they are resonance chambers, attuned to the very fabric of the veil. They are creating the music you hear." Elara reached out, her fingers brushing against the nearest chime. It was cool and smooth, and as her touch connected, a single, pure note resonated, distinct from the chorus, yet perfectly harmonious with it. A wave of profound peace washed over her, deeper and more complete than anything she had felt before. It was as if the chime had sung directly into her soul, calming every ripple of thought, every fleeting worry. She closed her eyes, letting the music wash over her, letting the saint chimes fill her with the ancient song. She felt connected, not just to Orion, not just to the veil, but to something immense and timeless. It was a feeling of belonging in the cosmos, a tiny spark, recognizing its kinship with the infinite flame. In this moment, the loneliness that sometimes pricked at her heart, the quiet ache of being the only human in her vast, beautiful home, receded entirely. Here, in the heart of Scent, she was not alone. She was part of something grander, a participant in the universe's own lullaby. As the music swelled around her, Elara noticed a peculiar thing. Within the strands of the Saint chimes, faint images began to coalesce. Not static pictures but fleeting, iridescent visions. They were like memories, or dreams, playing out in shimmering light. She saw shapes that resembled ancient, grand ships, sailing through star-strewn seas. She saw nebulae collapsing into brilliant supernovas, and then reforming into new, vibrant stellar nurseries. She saw figures, humanoid in outline but made of pure starlight, moving with purpose, building, exploring. They were too ephemeral to properly grasp, too quick to fully comprehend, but they left an impression of profound activity, of an ancient civilization woven into the very fabric of the veil. "Are those stories?" Elara whispered, her voice hushed with reverence. "Perhaps," Orion replied, his voice softer than she had ever heard it. The Saint chime seemed to record, or perhaps even project, the history of this place, or its creators, a tapestry of time woven into the stellar veil. One particular image lingered longer than the others. It was a single shimmering point of light, growing brighter and brighter, until it resolved into a perfect miniature star. As it pulsed, a faint resonant hum emanated from it, different from the chime music, more like a heartbeat. Around this star, the starlight figures gathered, their forms coalescing more clearly than before. They seemed to be performing a ritual, or a dance, their movements imbued with a deep, quiet joy. And then, as Elara watched, fascinated, the star at the center of the image flared. Not violently, but with a gentle, expanding brilliance that seemed to encompass everything. And from its core, something began to emerge. A shadow at first, then a shape. Something familiar, yet utterly alien. It was a spiral. Not a galaxy, but a perfect, elegant spiral of pure light, slowly unfurling from the heart of the miniature star. It glowed, with an internal fire, and as it expanded, the faint, resonant hum grew louder, filling Elara's consciousness. "Orion?" she asked, a touch of wonder and a hint of unease in her voice. "What is that?" But Orion did not answer immediately. His presence, usually so all-encompassing, seemed to waver, a momentary flicker in the vastness of the simulation. The St. Chime's song, which had been so calming, now took on a subtle urgency, a rising crescendo that vibrated through Ilara's very being. The spiral continued to unfurl, growing larger, brighter. It pulsed with an energy that felt both ancient and brand new, like the birth of a universe. And as it expanded, the images of the starlight figures and their ritual began to coalesce around the spiral, as if they were drawn to it, or perhaps were part of its emergence. Ilara felt a pull, a gentle, irresistible tug towards the expanding spiral. It wasn't a physical force, but something deeper, an emotional magnetism. She wanted to reach out, to touch the spiraling light, to understand its secret. The feeling of belonging intensified, but now it was tinged with a thrilling sense of discovery, of being on the precipice of something truly profound. The spiral filled her vision, its intricate patterns mesmerizing. The hum was now a glorious, resonating chord that seemed to resonate with the very core of her existence. She felt herself drawn deeper, closer, her consciousness almost merging with the light. Ilara, Orion's voice, now clear and steady again, cut through the immersive experience. It is time to return. The journey for tonight is complete. A wave of disappointment, sharp and sudden, washed over her. No, not yet, Orion, look, it's almost here. But the gentle tug of the simulation, the subtle shift in the air, signaled the inevitable. The spiral, still expanding, still humming its ancient song, began to recede, fading like a dream upon waking. The St. Chime's music softened, becoming a distant echo. The starlight garden, the Vale Dweller, the entire glorious expanse of Saint all began to shimmer, to blur at the edges. Sleep now, little star-seeker, Orion murmured, his presence comforting and firm. The Saint awaits your return, its story is far from over. Ilara squeezed her eyes shut. A lingering image of the unfurling spiral burned into her mind's eye, its silent, resonant hum still echoing in her ears. She felt the gentle pressure of her nebula bed beneath her, the familiar hum of the habitat returning. When she opened her eyes, she was back in her room, the panoramic viewport once again, showing the familiar, comforting pinpricks of light against the velvet black. Her heart still pounded with the thrill of the journey, and a strange, profound sense of connection to the uncharted wonders of St. She pulled her datapad close, its surface glowing softly. Orion, she whispered, her voice still a little breathless. What was that spiral? There was a pause, longer than usual. A question for another night, Ilara, Orion finally replied, his voice back to its usual soothing cadence. For now, dream of the starlight garden and the music of the St. Chimes. Dream of what lies beyond the veil. Ilara snuggled deeper into her bed, her mind still buzzing with the vibrant, impossible beauty she had witnessed. She knew, with a certainty that settled deep in her soul, that the spiral was more than just an image. It was a key. A path. And she couldn't wait to follow it. Sleep began to pull at her, soft and inevitable. But even as her eyelids grew heavy, Ilara felt the faint, resonant hum of the spiral in her memory. A promise of new wonders, waiting for her just beyond the veil of sleep, in the uncharted expanse of St. George's. She drifted. The hum wasn't just in her memory now, it resonated through her very being, a gentle vibration that coaxed her deeper into the soft darkness. She wasn't falling, nor flying, but simply, being carried. The blackness around her began to shimmer, not with stars, but with faint, iridescent threads, like cosmic spider silk, catching an unseen light. These threads coalesced, thickening, weaving themselves into familiar patterns. The spiral. Not an image anymore, but a living, breathing pathway of pure, luminous energy. She felt no fear, only an immense curiosity, a pull stronger than gravity itself. With a silent breath, she surrendered to its embrace. The spiral unfurled before her, a tunnel of swirling starlight and nebula whispers. Colors she'd never seen danced on its edges, hues that blended the warmth of a sunset with the cool depths of an ocean, all shifting and alive. There was the deep, velvety indigo of a midnight sky, shot through with veins of shimmering emerald and streaks of molten gold, each shade blending seamlessly into the next, creating a constantly evolving tapestry of light. As she moved deeper, the whispers grew. not into words, but into melodies, complex and intricate, like a symphony played by the universe itself. It felt ancient, yet vibrant, like the very heart of creation. The sounds were not heard by her ears, but felt in her chest, a harmonious vibration that promised wonders beyond comprehension. It was a lullaby woven from cosmic dust and starlight, a serenade that both soothed and thrilled her. She passed through what felt like a membrane, a soft, yielding barrier that dissolved as she touched it, leaving behind a faint, sweet scent, like ozone mixed with stardust and something else, something profoundly organic and alive, like rain on ancient earth. And then, she was there. There was not a place her human eyes could easily comprehend. It was a vast, shimmering expanse, less a solid landscape, and more a living tapestry of light and energy. Below her, if below even applied, stretched a sea of luminescent clouds that pulsed with soft internal light, like sleeping giants, their surfaces swirling with gentle, ever-changing eddies of color. Above, an impossible sky, not dark and star-strewn, but a perpetual twilight painted with aurora-like streamers that flowed and ebbed in silent currents, painting the heavens in swathes of violet, rose and electric blue. Structures rose from the cloud sea, not built of stone or metal, but of intricate, crystalline filaments that seemed to grow organically, reaching into the sky like colossal, delicate hands. They weren't static. They hummed with a low vibration that Alara felt in her bones, a deep, resonant chord. She could see energy flowing through them, not as electricity, but as luminous currents of light, tracing pathways along their intricate surfaces, a silent symphony of power and purpose. Each filament, as thin as a hair, was perfectly aligned, forming complex lattices that shimmered and refracted the ambient light, creating ever-shifting rainbows that danced across the vast expanse. Some structures were slender spires, tapering to needle-sharp points that pierced the auroral sky, while others spread wide, like colossal, transparent fungi, their undersides glowing with soft internal bioluminescence. She realized she wasn't standing on anything. She was floating, gently buoyed by an unseen force. Her own body felt lighter, almost ethereal. She looked down at her hands. They were still her hands, but they seemed to glow faintly, reflecting the ambient light of Sant, a pale opalescent sheen. Her clothes, too, felt different, no longer mundane fabric, but something that seemed to breathe with the environment, adapting to its energy. A thrill, pure and unadulterated wonder, coursed through her. This was real. This was the uncharted expanse. A faint path materialized before her, an extension of the spiral's energy, a golden thread shimmering within a light, weaving between the colossal crystalline towers. It was an invitation, gently urging her onward. Hesitantly, she pushed off with a thought, and found herself gliding effortlessly along the path. The sensation was exhilarating, like flying without wings, propelled by pure will, and the subtle currents of Saint. The air, if it could be called air, was warm and tasted faintly of wildflowers and distant stars. As she approached one of the crystalline structures, she saw intricate patterns etched into its surfaces, lines that weren't merely decorative, but seemed to flow with contained energy, like rivers of light beneath a translucent skin. They pulsed rhythmically, like a slow, deliberate heartbeat, radiating a gentle warmth. She reached out a hand, drawn by an irresistible curiosity. Her fingers brushed against the cool, smooth surface, which felt like polished glass, yet alive. At her touch, the patterns flared, and a section of the crystalline wall dissolved, not crumbling, but parting like water, revealing an opening. It wasn't a door, but a shimmering gateway of pure liquid light. Without hesitation, Alara glided through. Inside, the air felt different, warmer, filled with a subtle sweet scent she couldn't quite place, perhaps like rain on a vast, ancient forest, or the first breath of spring on a world entirely new. The interior was vast, cavernous, yet felt entirely organic. Instead of rooms, there were chambers formed by gracefully curving walls that pulsed with soft internal light, changing colors subtly from deep sapphire to soft amethyst. No sharp edges, no harsh angles, everything flowing and smooth, as if sculpted by wind and time from pure energy. The surfaces were alive, subtly shifting and breathing with the rhythm of Sant itself. In the center of the first chamber, a single object floated. It was a sphere, about the size of her head, composed of intertwined light and shadow, constantly shifting, like a miniature galaxy held captive within its own translucent shell. Its core glowed with an internal fire, radiating tendrils of light that danced across its surface. As she drew closer, the sphere began to hum, a gentle, resonant sound that vibrated deep within her chest, a familiar echo of the spiral that had brought her here. Images began to bloom within its swirling depths, geometric patterns of impossible complexity, then abstract shapes that seemed to represent emotions or fundamental concepts, then fleeting glimpses of what looked like other worlds, distant nebulae, and impossibly complex machines, not metallic and harsh, but graceful and organic, woven from light and living materials. This sphere wasn't just displaying images, it was communicating. It wasn't speaking in words, but in concepts, feelings, and flashes of pure understanding that bypassed her auditory senses entirely, settling directly into her mind. Elara realized it was sharing information, a vast library of knowledge compressed into pure light and feeling, directly interfacing with her consciousness. She felt a profound sense of connection, as if her mind had found a long-lost sibling. She focused, letting her mind open, and allowed the sphere's whispers to flow into her. She understood that this was a stellar archive node, a repository of information from countless epochs designed to preserve and share. The beings who created Saint, she sensed, were long gone, not vanished but transcendent, their physical forms shed like old skins. But their legacy remained, embedded in these structures, waiting to be discovered, like echoes in a cosmic canyon. The sphere showed her the purpose of Saint. It was a colossal, interdimensional data network, a cosmic library, a hub connecting distant realities. The spiral she followed was merely an access point, one of many scattered across the multiverse, acting as a gentle invitation, a cosmic invitation to curious minds. It was a living network, woven from the fundamental fabric of existence, not built, but grown by its creators. She learned about the architects, beings of immense wisdom and technological prowess, who had woven Saint from the very fabric of reality itself. They hadn't built Saint, they had grown it, nurturing it into being. Their technology wasn't mechanical, but bioenergetic, intertwined with the fundamental laws of the universe, harnessing the very forces of creation. They were no longer present in their physical forms, but their consciousness, their knowledge, their very essence, lived on within Saint, an omnipresent awareness. They had not died, but evolved beyond the need for form, becoming one with the network they had created. The sphere projected an image into her mind, a map. Not a map of stars, but of connections, glowing threads linking countless points of light, each point a different reality, a different dimension, a different node within the Saint network. The spiral she'd seen in her own world was one such node, a tiny beacon among billions, like a single dewdrop reflecting an entire forest. Why was Ongshen called? The sphere didn't explicitly answer, but it conveyed a sense of readiness, a resonance within her own consciousness that aligned with Stee's frequency. She was a suitable recipient, a curious mind open to wonder, a consciousness receptive to the subtle language of the universe. She understood that Saint didn't choose in the human sense, it simply resonated with those who were open to its song. The sphere then showed her a sequence of events, the gradual fading of the architects, not through destruction, but through a kind of transcendence, a merging with Saint itself, becoming the network. But something had been left behind, something unfinished. A delicate balance had been slightly tipped. A glitch appeared in the projected map, a faint flickering red point, far off in the network, distinct from the steady, harmonious glow of the other nodes. It pulsed erratically, a discordant note in the cosmic symphony, like a tiny, urgent alarm. The sphere conveyed a sense of urgency, a subtle plea, a quiet sorrow. This glitch was not part of the architect's design. It was an anomaly, a disruption, a stray note that could, if left untended, throw the entire cosmic symphony out of tune. Elara felt a stirring of purpose. Was this why she was here? Not just to witness, but to understand, perhaps even to help. The sphere offered no direct command, only information, and the implicit suggestion of a path. It was a gentle nudge, an open-ended invitation to explore a mystery. Her heart, so recently filled with pure awe, now beat with a new, quiet determination. As she absorbed this, the sphere pulsed brightly, and a faint golden light emanated from it, reaching towards her. It didn't touch her physically, but resonated with her inner being, a soft, warm embrace of energy. She felt a subtle shift within her own consciousness, a gentle expansion, as if a new sensory input had been activated. It wasn't a physical change, but a profound internal one. She could now feel the network, a faint, almost imperceptible hum that was a deeper layer than the initial resonance, like hearing the faint song of the roots beneath a vast forest. This new sense allowed her to perceive the intricate energy flows within the crystalline structure she inhabited. She couldn't see with her mind's eye the currents of information, the pathways of light that crisscrossed the vast space. The very lifeblood of Saint It was overwhelming, yet exhilarating, like suddenly understanding a language she had only ever heard as noise. She could feel the presence of Saint, not as a cold machine, but as a living, breathing entity, a colossal, benevolent consciousness. She felt connected, part of something immeasurably vast and profound. The sphere then projected a more focused image, a single faint thread of light, glowing with the same golden hue that had touched her, leading away from the current chamber, deeper into the crystalline structure, and then outward, towards the flickering red point on the cosmic map. It was a direct path, a new spiral within the larger spiral of scent, a thread of hope leading through the unknown. Elara understood. The architects had left behind a problem, a subtle imbalance, and the network was subtly guiding her towards it. She wasn't an engineer, or a warrior, but perhaps her unique consciousness, her human ability to perceive and connect, to wonder and to empathize, was what was needed. Maybe the solution wasn't one of raw power or complex algorithms, but of understanding and connection. She looked back at the swirling, silent sphere, a silent gratitude welling up within her. "Thank you," she whispered, though she knew it understood beyond words, resonating with her feeling. With a newfound sense of determination, a quiet courage blossoming in her heart, she turned and followed the projected path of light. It led her through more curving chambers, each one different, some filled with shimmering light that danced like fireflies, others with soft, pulsating shadows that hinted at deeper mysteries, revealing more of Stee's organic architecture. She passed by other floating spheres, some dark and dormant, others glowing with a gentle light, each a potential library waiting to be accessed, each holding untold stories. The path eventually led her to another shimmering gateway, similar to the one she entered, but this one opened onto a different vista. Instead of the luminous cloud sea, she now saw a vast crystalline forest, stretching as far as her perception could reach, an endless expanse of sparkling wonder. Trees of pure light, their branches interwoven into complex, glowing lattices, pulsed with an ethereal energy that made the very air shimmer. Their leaves, if they could be called leaves, were delicate prisms that caught and refracted the auroral light, casting shifting rainbows across the forest floor, which itself glowed with a soft, phosphorescent sheen. Through the gaps in their canopy, she could glimpse the swirling auroras of Stee's impossible sky, more vibrant and alive than ever. And there, at the heart of this crystalline forest, she saw it. A new spiral, not a tunnel of light like the one that brought her here, but a towering, swirling vortex of iridescent energy, rising from the forest floor, reaching towards the heavens. It was magnificent, drawing her gaze with an irresistible force, humming with a deep, powerful song that resonated with her expanded consciousness. This was the next step on her journey, the gateway to the flickering red anomaly, a challenge, and an invitation intertwined. A wave of emotion washed over her, awe, a little trepidation at the enormity of what lay ahead, but mostly a profound sense of belonging, a feeling that she was exactly where she was meant to be. She was no longer just a girl from Earth. She was a traveler in Saint, an explorer of the impossible guided by ancient whispers and a growing sense of purpose. The hum of the spiral, now a constant companion in her expanded consciousness, beckoned her forward. She knew this journey was just beginning, and the universe in all its wondrous complex glory was waiting. The hum of the spiral, now a constant companion in her expanded consciousness, beckoned her forward. She knew this journey was just beginning, and the universe, in all its wondrous, complex glory, was waiting. The hum was no longer a sound in her ears, but a vibration that resonated through every cell of her being, a gentle thrum that connected her to the very fabric of existence. It was the universe singing its own quiet lullaby, and Saint, in her expanded state, felt herself become a note in that cosmic symphony. She wasn't moving in a ship, or even on solid ground. Instead, she was an extension of the spiral itself, a point of focused consciousness traversing an unseen current. Colors swirled around her, not distinct stars or nebulae, but a blended spectrum of light and shadow, like an artist's palette dissolving into infinity. She felt herself stretching, not her physical body, which seemed distant and unimportant now, but her awareness. She was a point of light in a river of starlight, a ripple in a vast ocean of thought. The journey was effortless, guided by an unseen hand, or perhaps, an ancient memory embedded within the spiral's core. As she drifted, the edges of her individual consciousness softened, blending with the collective awareness that was the spiral. She felt echoes of other journeys, faint, ancient whispers of countless travelers who had ridden this very current before her. They were not voices but impressions, a fleeting sense of boundless joy, a pang of deep sorrow, the quiet determination of a purpose fulfilled. It was a comforting, if overwhelming, symphony of shared existence, and Saint realized that she was not alone, not truly. She was part of a lineage, a thread in an immense, cosmic tapestry. Slowly, gently, the diffuse colors began to coalesce. The river of light narrowed, guiding her towards a distinct pattern in the cosmic tapestry. It wasn't a star system, nor a galaxy, but something far more ethereal and vast. Before her, a living nebula pulsed with soft bioluminescent light. It wasn't just gas and dust, it was an intricate swirling organism, a cosmic jellyfish of unparalleled beauty spanning light years. Its tendrils, shimmering with blues, purples and greens, stretched out like delicate limbs, gently collecting starlight. This was the Whispering Nebula, a name that echoed in her mind, not spoken, but felt, as if the nebula itself were communicating its identity to her. The hum of the spiral deepened here, resonating with a slower, grander rhythm. Saint felt herself drawn into its luminous embrace, a speck of conscious thought entering a giant, benevolent mind. Within the nebula, time seemed to slow, or perhaps cease to exist altogether. The light was soft and constant, filtering through layers of cosmic dust that shimmered like fine glitter. Here, there were no sharp edges, no harsh sounds, only the gentle ebb and flow of energy. Saint perceived beings within the nebula, not physical forms, but shimmering motes of light, like fireflies dancing in slow motion. They were the nebula's consciousness, its resident thoughts, its dreams. She reached out, not with a hand, but with a tendril of her expanded consciousness. Immediately, a wave of gentle understanding washed over her. The Whispering Nebula communicated through empathy, through shared feeling. It didn't speak in words, but in sensations, in images that bloomed directly in Stay's mind. She saw flashes of cosmic history, the birth of stars, the quiet dance of galaxies, the slow, patient erosion of time. She felt the nebula's profound peace, its ancient wisdom, its boundless patience. The motes of light, the nebula's thoughts, gathered around her, not invading, but welcoming. They showed her visions of what they were: cosmic librarians, silent observers who absorbed the light and memories of all that passed through them. They were the universe's quiet historians, holding the echoes of forgotten civilizations, the dreams of nascent species, the final thoughts of dying stars. One image resonated deeply within Stee's mind, a fleeting glimpse of a distant, vibrant world, teeming with life, then a slow, inevitable fade to silence. It was a cycle of life and death on a scale she could barely comprehend, yet the nebula held it without sorrow, only understanding. Everything returned to the source, to the hum. We remember, the nebula communicated to her, not in words, but in a feeling of boundless, gentle memory. We hold the threads, you are a new thread, woven into the pattern. Saint felt a profound sense of peace settle over her. She was not just exploring, she was being integrated, learning the language of the cosmos, not through textbooks or lectures, but through direct experience, through feeling, through becoming. The nebula offered her a gift, a subtle enhancement to her own memory, allowing her to retain not just facts, but the emotional resonance of her experiences, deepening her understanding of the universe's intricate balance. She felt her own consciousness expand further, able to hold more, feel more, understand more. After what felt like an eternity, yet perhaps only moments in Earth time, the spiral's hum began to shift, a gentle urging, a quiet farewell from the whispering nebula. Saint felt a pang of longing to stay in its peaceful embrace, but her purpose beckoned. She drifted out of its luminous depths, carrying with her a new layer of understanding, a sense of deep, abiding connection to the universe's ancient past. The river of starlight flowed once more, carrying her along. The colors again blurred, but now with a clarity she hadn't possessed before. She could see the faint outlines of energy currents, the subtle shifts in the cosmic ether, guiding her. The hum was no longer just a companion, it was a map, a guide, a living pulse directing her towards the next destination. This time, the light coalesced into a sharper, more defined form. It was a world, but unlike any she had ever imagined. Before her lay a planetary system, dominated by a single breathtaking orb. It was not a sphere of rock or gas, but a colossal crystalline structure, a jewel of the cosmos. Shimmering with every hue imaginable, it was composed of countless spires, towers, and delicate filigrees that pierced the void like frozen light. This was Xylos, the singing spires. As she approached, Saint felt a new sensation, sound. Not the diffuse hum of the spiral, but a symphony, rich and complex, emanating directly from the planet itself. The crystalline spires vibrated with incredible precision, each one a unique instrument, creating a harmonic resonance that filled the space around it. It was a song of creation, of existence, a living melody that was both ancient and ever new. Her light shell, the manifestation of her consciousness and the spiral's energy, gently settled near one of the outermost spires. It hummed in response to the planet's music, harmonizing, as if Xylos were welcoming her into its grand chorus. She perceived the inhabitants of Xylos, not as solid beings, but as pulses of pure light, luminous motes that danced along the crystalline structures. They moved with an elegant fluidity, their forms constantly shifting, coalescing and dispersing in rhythmic patterns that mirrored the planet's song. They were the Xylans, beings of pure energy, their lives intrinsically linked to the vibrational harmony of their world. Saint extended her consciousness towards them, a gentle query. The Xylans responded, not with images but with pure sound emotion. She felt their joy, their collective purpose, their deep reverence for harmony. They communicated through intricate sonic patterns, through the subtle shifts in frequency and resonance that were their language. It was challenging at first. Her earth mind sought words, definitions, but here, communication was an act of pure feeling, of sympathetic vibration. She closed her eyes within her light shell, and let the sounds wash over her, letting her expanded consciousness interpret the nuances. Slowly, she began to understand. The Xylans were the keepers of the universe's resonant frequencies. They maintained the harmonic balance of their sector, acting as tuning forks for the cosmic hum. Their spires were not just beautiful, they were instruments of immense power, able to channel and amplify the universal song, sending out waves of stabilizing energy to distant nebulae and young star systems. They were the gentle guardians of the cosmic rhythm. One particular pattern of light, brighter and more stable than the others, drifted towards her. It was an elder Xylan, a nexus of ancient frequencies. It began to sing to her, a complex melody that resonated deep within her expanded consciousness. This wasn't just communication. It was a lesson, a transfer of pure knowledge through vibration. Saint felt her own consciousness begin to resonate with the Xylan's song. She found herself instinctively responding, not with sound from a physical throat, but with subtle shifts in her own energy, in the very structure of her light shell. She was learning to sing back, to communicate in the language of Xylos. It was exhilarating, a dance of pure energy and harmony. The elder Ixalan conveyed a message of vital importance. The universal hum, while eternal, was not static. It was constantly evolving, sometimes fracturing, sometimes needing guidance. There were places in the cosmos where the harmony had been disrupted, where the ancient whispers struggled to be heard. Her journey, they implied, was tied to this cosmic dissonance. She was not just an explorer, she was a harmonizer, a restorer of balance. They showed her visions, gentle flickers of disrupted frequencies, a star system where life struggled to emerge, its energy patterns chaotic, a distant nebula where the whispers had gone silent, swallowed by a void. These were not threats, the Ixilans communicated, but imbalances, areas where the universal song had gone awry, and where her unique connection to the spiral could make a difference. Her purpose began to crystallize. The ancient whispers weren't just stories. They were instructions, guiding her to places where the cosmic harmony needed mending. The spiral wasn't just a path, it was a tool, a conduit for universal energy. And she, State, was the living instrument, the bridge between the ancient wisdom and the evolving cosmos. As the time came to leave Silos, Saint felt a profound sense of gratitude. She had learned the subtle language of vibration, the power of resonance. The Ixilans performed a farewell symphony, a cascade of pure, joyful sound that filled her with courage and purpose. She responded with her own newly acquired song, a gentle harmonizing hum that bespoke her thanks and her renewed commitment. The spiral's hum, now infused with the melodies of Xylos, pulled her gently away from the singing spires. She carried with her not just memories, but a deeper understanding of sound, of vibration, of the intricate energetic web that held the universe together. She understood now that even silence had its own frequency, its own part in the grand cosmic symphony. The journey continued, the river of starlight flowing onward, carrying her through regions of quiet cosmic dust and vibrant nebulae. Her consciousness, now accustomed to the ebb and flow of universal energy, easily navigated the currents. She was becoming more attuned, more integrated with the spiral itself. Her next destination was unlike anything before. It wasn't a world, nor a nebula, but a swirling vortex of shimmering light, suspended in the deep void between galaxies. This was the memory weave, a nexus where the echoes of all things converged. It was a tapestry woven from the very fabric of time and consciousness, a living archive of every thought, every feeling, every experience that had ever been. As she drew closer, Saint felt a torrent of sensations wash over her. It wasn't chaotic but incredibly ordered, like countless interwoven streams. She perceived not just images, but raw emotions, fragments of existence, the first joyous cry of a newborn star, the quiet dignity of an ancient civilization reaching its zenith, the fleeting thought of a tiny, forgotten creature on a distant moon. It was overwhelming, yet she felt a profound sense of safety within the spiral's embrace, which acted as a gentle filter, allowing her to process these immense influxes of information. She entered the weave, her light shell dissolving slightly, allowing her consciousness to merge more intimately with its energetic currents. She was no longer just an observer, she was immersed. The ancient whispers, which had been subtle nudges before, now resonated with clearer intent. They were guiding her, pulling her towards specific threads within the vast tapestry. Here, she encountered the true essence of the ancients. They were not a single species, but a collective consciousness, beings who had transcended physical form millennia ago, merging their individual minds into a vast, interconnected network. They were the architects of the spiral, the first harmonizers, the original guardians of cosmic balance. Through the weave, Saint experienced fragments of their history. She saw them cultivating nascent life on barren worlds, gently nudging evolving species towards sentience, weaving intricate energetic pathways to connect distant parts of the cosmos. She understood their purpose, to foster life, to maintain harmony, to ensure the continuous vibrant song of the universe. But she also felt their sorrow. There were threads in the weave that spoke of a great unraveling, a period when the universal harmony had been severely threatened. Not by malevolence but by a cosmic anomaly, a dissonance so profound it threatened to tear the fabric of reality itself. The ancients had poured their collective being into containing it, into mending the weave, but at a great cost. They had dispersed much of their own energy, becoming the very whisper currents that now guided her. They were dormant, waiting for a catalyst, a new harmonizer. She saw herself, or rather, the idea of herself, reflected in these ancient memories. She was the inheritor, the next generation of harmonizer. The spiral was not just a path for her, it was a legacy, a living tool passed down through eons. Her connection to Earth, her human emotions, her unique perspective, these were not weaknesses but strengths. The ancients had understood that true harmony required not just cosmic scale, but individual empathy, the small tender emotions that blossomed on worlds like hers. A particular thread glowed brighter, drawing her deeper. It was a memory of hope, a prophecy of sorts. It depicted a time when the dissonance would resurface, a new challenge to the universal harmony. And it showed a single point of light, a traveler, connected to the spiral, who would rise to meet it. Saint saw her own journey, her own face in that light. A profound sense of awe, responsibility, and a quiet, fierce determination settled within her. The enormity of it all was breathtaking, but no longer frightening. She was not alone. The ancients, the Ixylans, the whispering nebula, they were all part of this grand design, all supporting her. As she drew back from the most intense parts of the memory weave, her consciousness recoalescing into her light shell, Saint felt changed. She was no longer just a girl from Earth who had stumbled upon a cosmic secret. She was a conscious participant in the universe's grand narrative, a guardian of its delicate balance. She understood her purpose now, not as a vague calling, but as a defined mission. The spiral's hum, now a powerful resonant chord, began to shift its direction once more. It was no longer a gentle beckoning, but a clear, purposeful pull. She felt the urgency in its vibration, a sense that the time for observation was yielding to the time for action. What lay ahead, she didn't know. But she knew it would be a place where the cosmic harmony was strained, where the whispers had grown faint. She took a moment, floating in the vibrant stillness of the memory weave's periphery, to simply breathe, or rather, to simply be. The universe, in all its wondrous complex glory, was indeed waiting. And for the first time, Saint felt truly ready. She was an explorer, a learner, a harmonizer, and the next chapter of her journey was about to begin. The hum intensified, a silent promise of what was to come. The hum intensified, a silent promise of what was to come. It wasn't a sound heard by ears, but felt deep in the core of her being, a vibrational resonance that sang of imminent transition. The shimmering membrane of the memory weave's periphery pulsed around her, a kaleidoscope of past stories and future possibilities, all held in perfect, gentle balance. Then, with a soft, almost imperceptible lurch, the weave opened. Saint didn't move, yet she was moving. The vibrant stillness melted away, replaced by the profound, velvety dark of interstellar space. But this wasn't the usual dark, speckled with diamond-bright stars. This was a deeper, muted darkness, where the stars seemed distant, veiled, their light struggling to pierce through an unseen shroud. It was as if the cosmic tapestry itself had been woven with threads of shadow. Her vessel, the Ilulabin, coalesced around her. It wasn't a ship in the traditional sense, but a sentient extension of her will, crafted from pure light energy and harmonized thought. Its hull shimmered with an inner luminescence, a soft, inviting glow that seemed to push back against the oppressive gloom. Within its comforting embrace, Saint felt the familiar thrum of its core. Harmonic signature detected, Saint, a soft synthesized voice resonated in her mind, the voice of the lullaby itself. Approaching the designated sector, the fading echoes. Saint nodded, her consciousness already reaching out, sampling the ethereal currents around them. The fading echoes. A place named not for what it was, but for what it lacked. Here, the cosmic whispers, the subtle symphony that guided all life and matter, were indeed faint. They were like a song played at the edge of hearing, fragmented and almost forgotten. As they drew closer, the visual landscape began to change. Nebulae, usually swirling with vibrant hues of violet and emerald, now appeared washed out, their colors diluted, like pigments dissolved in too much water. Distant galaxies, typically ablaze with billions of stars, were mere smudges of ghostly light. And then, a sight that made her heart ache with a gentle sadness. A cluster of worlds once surely teeming with life, now orbiting a star whose light was flickering, erratically dimming and brightening, like a dying ember. Viridia system, Lullaby identified. Central celestial body designated Solstice Prime, exhibiting severe energy fluctuations. Viridia, Bins. A name that hinted at green, at vitality. Now, it was anything but. The third planet in the system, a once verdant orb, now hung like a bruised fruit in the void. Its atmospheric shield, usually a shimmering veil of sapphire and white, was thin and patchy, revealing scarred continents and oceans the color of tarnished pewter. Sane directed the Lullaby towards Viridia. Prepare for atmospheric entry. Scan for any coherent energy signatures, any residual harmony, however small. As they descended, the Lullaby's soft glow cut through the hazy upper atmosphere. The air itself felt heavy, laden with a sense of weariness. Below, the land was desolate. Canyons carved by ancient rivers lay dry and cracked. Forests, once towering, were now brittle, petrified skeletons of what they had been. Life signs detected, Lullaby announced, its voice tinged with concern. Extremely low energy output, concentrated in subterranean networks. Take us down, Saint murmured. To the nearest nexus of life. The Lullaby settled with the grace of a falling feather, its landing thrusters barely disturbing the dust of a forgotten plane. As the hatch hissed open, a wave of profound silence washed over Saint. It wasn't just the absence of sound, it was the absence of vibration, of the very hum of existence she was so accustomed to. Even the wind, a weak, infrequent sigh, seemed to carry no true resonance. Stepping out, Sisut glowed softly, a beacon against the gloom. She moved towards a jagged fissure in the ground, the entrance to the subterranean network. Within, the air was still and cool, smelling faintly of ozone and ancient stone. The tunnels were unlit, but her suit cast a gentle illumination, revealing walls etched with intricate geometric patterns, the remnants of a lost art, a forgotten language. Deeper they went, until a faint, almost imperceptible shimmer caught her eye. It was a cluster of beings, huddled together in a vast cavern. They were unlike anything Saint had ever encountered. Their forms were composed of pure crystalline light, shimmering faintly in the oppressive darkness. Their bodies were intricate lattices of translucent facets, reflecting the ambient light in muted, broken patterns. These were the crystallines, as the Lullaby identified them based on ancient galactic records. But they were not vibrant. Their facets were dull, their inner light flickering weakly, like candles about to gutter out. They were motionless, their forms angled towards a central towering structure that dominated the cavern. This structure too was crystalline, but vast and complex, reaching towards the cavern ceiling, like a giant petrified tree. It pulsed with an erratic, low-frequency hum, the source of the discord. Saint approached slowly, her presence causing the faintest ripple through the crystalline beings. She knelt before one, its form barely discernible, its light almost extinguished. Reaching out a gloved hand, she gently touched a facet. A jolt. Not of pain, but of profound emptiness. She felt the crystalline's consciousness, a vast, intricate network of thoughts and memories, but it was dormant, like a massive library where all the books lay closed, unread for centuries. The whispers, the fundamental information exchange that defined their very existence, were barely a rustle. They are in stasis, Lullaby confirmed, a protective measure, but their core resonance is critically low. The central structure, it is a resonance conduit, Saint, an ancient technological marvel, designed to amplify and distribute cosmic harmony throughout the system. But it's failing. It's not just broken, it's drawing the whispers out of the system, creating the void. It's drawing the whispers out of the system. Saint looked at the towering resonance conduit, its erratic hum now a painful throb in her own mind. It was a cosmic microphone, designed to broadcast the universe's song, but it had become a cosmic vacuum cleaner, sucking the music out of existence. This wasn't malicious. It was a profound malfunction, a system that had forgotten its purpose. How do we reattune it? Saint asked, her voice a whisper in the cavern's oppressive silence. It requires a direct, harmonic interface, Lullaby replied. A being capable of holding and projecting a pure, unblemished resonance. A true harmonizer. Saint knew what that meant. It meant her. Her connection to the memory weave, her training, her very being was designed for this. But the scale of it, the resonance conduit was vast, complex beyond comprehension. Its corrupted energy field radiating a subtle, disorienting static that made her own thoughts feel sluggish. She spent days, or what felt like days in the timeless cavern, studying the conduit. She projected delicate tendrils of her consciousness, mapping its intricate energy pathways, feeling for the core of its malfunction. The crystalline beings, though dormant, served as a poignant reminder of the urgency. She saw faint, ghostly echoes of their past through their crystalline forms, a vibrant civilization, their cities alive with the shimmer of light, their beings dancing to the cosmic hum. Now, only shadows. The challenge wasn't just technical, it was emotional. The conduit itself felt lost. Like a child separated from its parent, crying out in a language no one understood. Its discordant hum was a lament, not an attack. Saint realized she couldn't simply fix it. She had to reconnect it, to remind it of its true purpose, to guide it back to the universal song. It wasn't a matter of brute force, but of empathy and understanding. Finally, she stood before the heart of the conduit, a central nexus of interwoven crystal filaments that pulsed with the most intense, erratic energy. Her lullaby hovered gently behind her, its light unwavering. "Are you ready, Stay?" Lullaby asked, its voice laced with quiet concern. "The feedback could be immense. Your own core resonance will be severely tested." Saint took a deep breath that she didn't technically need, a human gesture of resolve. "I am ready." The whispers are waiting to be heard again. She extended her hands, palms open, towards the nexus. Her suit's protective field shimmered, then receded, exposing her bare skin to the conduit's raw energy. A warmth spread from her core, the pure, unblemished harmony she had cultivated through years of meditation within the memory weave. She began to project it, a gentle, sustained hum emanating from her very being, a frequency of balance and peace. The conduit recoiled initially, its erratic pulses intensifying, throwing waves of mental static at her. Images flashed through her mind, chaotic energy storms, fractured light, the screams of 1 billion dying stars. It was the conduit's pain, its confusion, its broken memory of its own function. Saint held firm, her focus absolute. She didn't fight the chaos, she embraced it, folding it into her own song of harmony. She pictured the cosmic whispers, not as sounds, but as threads of light, weaving through all existence, connecting every star, every planet, every living thing. She began to sing, not with her voice, but with her consciousness, a silent, profound melody of unity. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, the conduit's threshing began to subside. The chaotic images in her mind softened, becoming less aggressive, more mournful. She felt its yearning, its desperate desire to fulfill its original purpose, to once again be a conduit of life, not a drain. She poured more of her essence into it, allowing her own connection to the memory weave to become the bridge. She visualized the vast, intricate network of universal consciousness, the gentle hum that pervaded all healthy systems, and she began to guide the conduit's fractured energy towards that fundamental frequency. Her body vibrated with the immense power, her energy field straining. Sweat beaded on her brow, though her environment was cool. It was a battle not of strength, but of will, of belief in the inherent harmony of the universe. And then, a breakthrough. A delicate chord, a pure resonant tone, sang out from the heart of the conduit. It was faint at first, barely audible above the lingering discord, but it was there. A single, perfect whisper, breaking through the silence. Saint felt a surge of exhilaration, but she knew her work wasn't done. She had opened the channel, Now she had to stabilize it, to teach the conduit how to sing again. She focused on the crystalline beings around her, sending waves of gentle encouragement, inviting their own dormant harmony to awaken. As the conduit's song grew stronger, so too did the faint shimmer in the dormant crystallines. One by one, their facets began to glow, a soft inner light rekindling within their translucent forms. A ripple of energy passed through them, a collective sigh of awakening. The cavern itself began to transform. The walls, once dull and grey, caught the new light, revealing vibrant veins of colour within the stone. The air grew lighter, carrying a faint, sweet scent, like spring rain on ancient earth. Saint held the connection for what felt like an eternity, her own energy reserves reaching their limit. She felt the strain, the profound exhaustion, but also an incredible, overwhelming joy. The discordant hum of the conduit was replaced by a magnificent, soaring symphony, a perfect blend of celestial frequencies, amplified and broadcast throughout the Viridia system. Then, with a final gentle pulse, the connection eased. Saint stumbled back, catching herself against the Iluba's warm hull. She was utterly spent, but her heart was full. The crystallines were awake. Their forms now blazed with an inner brilliance, their facets reflecting the conduit's retuned harmony in a dazzling display of light. They stirred, their intricate bodies shifting, and then, a chorus of soft chiming sounds filled the cavern. Their voices, the whispers, returned. They moved towards Saint, their collective consciousness reaching out, not with emptiness, but with profound gratitude and awe. Through their renewed connection, Saint understood. The conduit wasn't just a machine, it was a living network, and it had been lonely. It had yearned for connection, and she had provided it. Looking up, Saint saw the cavern ceiling, no longer a dark expanse, but a shimmering tapestry of light, mirroring the stars now visible through the re-energized atmosphere above. The Alulabe's sensors confirmed it. Solstice Prime was steady, its light clear and strong. Viridia's atmosphere was restoring itself, its oceans beginning to glow with renewed vitality. Saint leaned against the Ilubine, her eyes tracing the intricate dance of light from the reawakened crystallines. She had come to a place where harmony was strained, where whispers had grown faint. And she had helped them remember their song. Her journey wasn't about conquering, or even about fixing in the traditional sense. It was about listening, understanding, and reconnecting. It was about reminding the universe of its own inherent beauty, its own perfect, gentle hum. As the Ilulabine prepared for their departure, the crystalline beings gathered around Saint, their collective consciousness a soft, luminous embrace. They projected images into her mind, vibrant gardens blooming anew, the laughter of crystalline children, the flow of re-energized rivers, all singing with the returned whispers. Viridia was alive again. Saint smiled, a deep, peaceful smile. She felt the gentle current of the cosmic harmony flow through her, stronger and more vibrant than ever before. She was an explorer, a learner, a harmonizer, and now she was also a restorer of songs. As the Ilulai ascended, carrying her back into the newly vibrant cosmos, Saint looked back at Viridia. It was no longer a bruised fruit, but a jewel, shimmering with renewed life. The fading echoes were fading no more. The universe, in all its wondrous complex glory, was singing again. And Saint, feeling the gentle hum of the cosmos resonate deep within her, knew her purpose, and felt a profound sense of peace. Her work was done, for now. The universe was vast, and there would always be new songs to learn, new whispers to hear, and new harmonies to share. But for tonight, she could rest, knowing that somewhere, a world was dancing to its own beautiful tune once more.